Grace, mercy, and peace to you from God our Father and our Lord Jesus Christ. You should have received with the bulletin and the music, you should have received a little insert. You see that? Who has not received it? Now, I don't know how you feel about this, but and this petition requires changing sinner to person who is morally challenged. I see some smiles on people's faces. And even though it's supposed to have a touch of humor to it, and it does, the reality is that you and I are facing a delusion of our faith and our prayers every day of the week. It's being diluted in so many different ways. And one of the ways in which it's being diluted is by calling it something else. I remember seeing a cartoon some years ago, and I was looking for it and wasn't able to put my hand on it. And in the cartoon there was some 3-4 guys sitting around a table in hell. And one guy said to the other 3, he said, you know what I'm in here for is no longer a sin. And when you come right down to it, you've had that experience, and maybe you and I have actually exercised our decision that our life is not sinful because somehow or another we feel that we are an exception. And so we go on, and we first of all, a long time ago in the English language, called it trespasses, and many congregations like ours still does. What does it say? Forgive us our trespasses. And then many congregations moved to the word sin, because sin was considered to be more modern, more hip, and more understandable rather than trespasses. Trespasses had something to do with not being someplace where we are not allowed to be. When in fact, much of what we do trespass on God's sovereignty. Or perhaps the newest word is morally challenged. Many times we use that word as a way of saying nothing, because it says nothing. What does morally challenged mean? Do you think if you and your spouse get into an argument, and if he or she came to you and said, oh honey, I was just morally challenged, would you accept that? Or perhaps the word debt. That's a popular word anymore. And many congregations use the word debt as opposed to trespasses. They say, forgive us our debts. And incidentally, while I'm here at this particular point, next week we're going to focus on the other half of that petition. Today we want to focus on the half that says that forgive us our debts, our trespasses, our sins, our wrongdoings. And next week we'll encounter the challenge. Forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. And we'll be taking a look at that next week. It's so easy for us to make light of our sins. Sometimes people joke about their sins. I do it. I'm sure that some of you have done that. Now, there's a story about a preacher who was preaching fire and brimstone, and it was a congregation like this, except it had a balcony on the top. And people would sit in the balcony. On this particular occasion, some of the teenagers were sitting up there, and they were leaning over, and as he was preaching away, one of the girls fell down. And luckily, she got hooked on a flag that was standing up there. And as she got hooked on the flag, her head was down, and her legs were up, her dress was over her head, and the preacher yelled out and said, "If any man takes a rope, he will be struck blind." Some old geezer in the front row said, "I'm going to risk one eye." We can remind ourselves that our sins can be laughed at, but we don't want to do that all the time. So what do we do? What are we really challenging each other? We're challenging each other with the reality that our society has changed tremendously. Our society is no longer the same as it was even 15, 20, 30, or 40 years ago. And one of the ways in which it has changed is it has changed the definition of such words as forgiveness, and sins, and debts. But we should not make light of it. We should not make light of people who have changed the definition. They're at least making a definition. But what I do believe we need to be clear about is that those forces in our society which are changing so rapidly are slowly, if not more quickly, picking up speed and denying the very existence of God. There are basically two groups that I want to focus on. And the first group are the traditionalists. Most of the United States at one time or another consisted of traditionalists, people who were born before 1944. If you were born before 1944, your category, more likely than not, is that you're a traditionalist. You have the other groupings. You have the baby boomers, and millennials, the X and Y and Z, and all these different groups. But the traditionalists in our congregation, most of the congregation are traditionalists. And what I mean by that is that they have a sense of what is right or wrong. And so when we're talking about sin with traditionalists, we can talk about what is right or what is wrong. We can talk about absolute truth. We can talk about these various ways to identify the way we live and relate to our God. But we're not just our congregation is not just consisting of traditionalists. They're also post-millennialists, and I'm categorizing them in that group as one group, even though their breakdowns are that group. And the post-millennialists, first of all, do not believe in an absolute source of authority. Second of all, they do not believe in right or wrong. Those things are whatever makes you happy. In fact, what is so often the case is that we set ourselves as post-millennialists. We set ourselves up as the authority. And the worst thing that a millennialist or post-millennialist can do is to deny himself, is to deny his needs. We think that we should be able to express ourselves and give vent to who we are. To thyself be true, even though I think that's from Shakespeare. I think we as post-millennialists in our congregations often have adopted that particular slogan. And it's become easy for us to justify anything and everything. So where are we? We're talking about forgiveness. Forgiveness which is still necessary. If you have any kind of meaningful relationship, forgiveness is a part of it. There's some people, we were just reading our devotion a couple of days ago, one person said that being in love or being married consists of 3 parts of love and 7 parts of forgiveness. But that's not only true of marriage. That's true of our relationship with our neighbor, with our relatives, with our friends, with God. We need His forgiveness. We'll talk more about that next week. But let me give you a flavor of what it means, what forgiveness means. It's a poem. I first heard it, and the only time I heard it, from Ravi Zacharias. And I'm not sure that I have copied exactly because I was listening to it on the radio in the car. I was making notes as quickly as I could. And this is what I wrote down. It was in elementary school while you had grown a test. And he came to the teacher begging for another chance. He came to my desk with a quiver in it. The lesson was done. Have you a new sheet for me, dear teacher? I've spoiled this one. I took his sheet, all soiled and blotted, and gave him a new one, all unspotted. And into his tired heart I cried, do better now, my child. I went to the throne with a trembling heart. The day was done. Have you a new day for me, dear master? I've spoiled this one. He took my day all soiled and blood and gave me a new one, all unspotted. And into my tired heart